My name is Sierra Colson. I am a civil engineering major, and currently I am an intern for the capital planning department of OSU, and this summer I will be a construction intern for Kiewit.
My name is Brenna Blankenship, and I'm a fisheries and wildlife sciences major with a specialization in wildlife biology.
I'm Sarah Melling. I'm a double major in math and econ, and I haven't really done anything in the field.
I'm Denise Wendler, better known as Dee Wendler. As far as my experiences, I've had an amazing 33-year career in higher education here in Oregon. And that career started back in 1984 and spanned not only Oregon State and the Oregon University system, but also Portland State University.
So originally I wanted to be an architect, but I love math and science a lot. My brain is very right-brained and very black and white, and so architecture I realized just wasn't really my thing. The artsy side doesn't come to me naturally, but math and science does. So that's where civil engineering definitely was that good middle ground. I had lots of math and science to explore and infrastructure to help and deal with and use that for a good cause. So.
It kind of started my senior year of high school. I shadowed a biologist and went out with their technicians and worked on a project with spotted owls, and I really liked it and thought that it'd be like a field that I'd be passionate about later on in my life. So I went to school for it.
So for math, I was always really good at math and really wanted to I really like learning the back part of math, so understanding why everything worked. And then for econ, I never really learned anything about econ in high school. We didn't really have any classes for it. And then I took a econ class at Oregon State and I really enjoyed it, and I really liked learning about how the government worked and that kind of thing.
Well, my undergrad was out of Oregon State with a degree in accounting, and I started out in auditing, which was really an interesting field. Found that to be a very good field for a woman because it was a very new field for a woman back then. And they would send me in to audit things in a man's world.
I think a lot of people think that it's pretty cool and different that I'm doing it as a girl, and that some people can be shocked that that's something that I'm interested in, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I usually get one of two reactions. Usually it's either they are very oh, what you got you into that, and they're very curious, they're very excited, or they kind of are very confused and almost shocked, and it takes them a little bit to oh, okay. So.
And I went into public-private partnerships, and that's how we developed a lot of the Portland State campus. So what I found is I was kind of a new entity being a woman in that field. And at first people wouldn't believe you when you said you were working on a $25 million or $40 million deal. They thought you were joking. And then they'd realize, oh my word, she's serious. And so actually a lot of it was just gaining that credibility.
There's certain situations in the job where you get different sort of comments or something like that. Some things people are uncomfortable with having a female in that position, but I never feel uncomfortable. I am always thought of myself as equal to everyone else that I work with. Yeah.
Yes, so in math especially, I feel like I'm consistently having to prove myself throughout every single class. If I get one thing wrong, I'll have to continuously prove myself, or boys in the class, I will get a better test score than a boy by 20 points, and he will still treat me like I don't know what I'm doing and that sort of stuff.
Both. I think more recently good. If you actually look at the genders themselves, women are much more relational. Women tend to build that bedrock of relationships across different lines. And then when something hits the clinch, or they need something done quickly, or a big project comes along, they've got that credibility. They've got that relationship already built. With men, not quite so much. Being able to cross onto both sides, talk to a man on his field, talk to a woman on her field, that is really a nice way to be able to pull a deal together. The workplace evolved so much while I was in it, especially from a technology perspective, And just the world of finance evolved a lot too. Plus we went through the crash of 2008. I would say that gender in the later years became less of an issue, especially when you're in a large area like the Portland metropolitan area. What I noted though was that gender was a little more of a challenge in rural communities. My end of my career, I came down to Oregon State and I was the only female business center manager out of 7. And it really did make a difference being a female. I was judged a little differently and accepted a little differently. And I had to really work to bring that prominence back and the credibility.
Yeah, it's definitely like little things like gestures. I definitely understand like males being courteous and like opening doors for me and you know, like, oh, you're okay, I can do that for you, sort of thing. But definitely after a little while, it starts to where I knew that like I can do that. I'm capable. I am perfectly capable. Let me do it. You know, I can open my own door. I can, you know, hammer the stick into the ground, whatever it is. But yeah, things like that.
I've faced a lot of like challenges with like having to prove myself and having to like always. I feel like I always have to be right in classes and always have to do that. And I feel like they're more or less gender related because people, like when the boys in my class make mistakes, it just kind of gets swept aside versus when the girls make mistakes, it's a lot more like prevalent and people kind of think they're not as smart as they are and do that kind of stuff. So I feel like it is a little gender related, but it also just might be me seeing it as gender related, but yeah.
I think people just weren't sure if I can do it or if I can do the same work that all the guys can and everything like that. I feel like a lot of women in the field are just doing research behind the scenes rather than going out and getting it.
I think driving it is some of the misconceptions people have, especially about emotion. And when I talk about emotion, they tend to label women as being too emotional in this field. Actually, the opposite's true. When things get really tight and things get very tense, usually it's a woman who will hold her own and stay calm and be able to work through the different problems to a really positive end. Men tend to get a little hot-headed.
I think the older generation definitely has some different opinions on what women in the field can and can't do. I feel like there's like a younger generation that's coming to light now and things are changing, but I think that it could be a little bit more accepting in some ways.
Like growing up socially, like females are put down. They're usually the householders. They're historically that, and so I think that we've always come to view females as this figure of, oh, they're not strong enough, they don't like math and science, they're into the arts, things like that, and I don't think that that's correct for everybody, and so I feel like just combating that issue. Mm-hmm. The advice that I would give is that you work just as hard to be there, you are confident that this is what you want to do, and just keep going forward and don't pay any attention to the fact that you're different gender than the male colleagues around you or the female colleagues around you, and just that you're worth being there. So, yeah.
I think that they should just really go after it and go do it if it's something they're passionate about. I don't feel like there should be any reason that like a woman can't do the same thing in this type of field that a guy couldn't do. I think that if you just show passion and dedication towards it, you'll get respect.
I think the first thing is don't come on too strong. Don't try to prove yourself. Don't butt your way into the field with your head. That's not going to do it. You've got to take time to get to know people, build a relationships network. That's key. Once you've built that, then you have the chance to use that as a stepping stone to be able to really lend a name to yourself.